Hello, and thank you for tuning into the channel. Today, we'll take a look at Steve McQueen's. Before you begin, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more future updates. Number 10, An Enemy of the People, 1978. An Enemy of the People, based on Arthur Miller's English adaptation of Henrik Ibsen's 1882 drama, was a significant shift for Steve, and went against his reputation as an action star. Steve plays Dr. Thomas Stockman, a modest doctor living in a small Norwegian town. In this film set in the 1880s, Thomas Stockman, the town's mayor's brother, has been named the medical officer of a new spa and hot spring that is set to open soon in the town. Because of the hot spring, the entire town anticipates a bustling tourist season and is looking forward to the increased money. However, Thomas discovers that the springs have been poisoned by the town's nearby tannery, and that they would need extensive restoration before they can be utilized safely. Number 9, The Thomas Crown Affair, 1968. This beautiful romantic adventure reunites McQueen with his Cincinnati Kid director, Norman Jewison, and recounts the story of bored businessman Thomas Crown, Steve. Thomas is already a wealthy because to his real estate and investing ventures, but he plans the perfect bank robbery just for his own entertainment. He accomplishes this by enlisting the help of 5 men who have never met each other and have never met him. Each man is assigned a certain task, and when the crime is completed, they all go their separate ways. To avoid suspicion, Crown pays them all in installments after that. Independent insurance investigator Vicki Anderson, Faye Dunaway, is hired to investigate the theft after the team successfully steals over $2 million. Vicki is a natural-born detective who recognizes Thomas Crown as the perpetrator of the robbery the moment she meets him. It's proving it that's the problem. The harder issue for Vicki is figuring out how to control Thomas Crown without getting manipulated in return. Number 8, Love with a Proper Stranger, 1963. Despite the fact that Steve frequently played romantic leads, Love with the Proper Stranger is one of the rare films in which the love storyline was not subordinate to a more action-oriented or thriller-based plot. The film is set in New York City and centers on the consequences of a one-night stand between guitarist Rocky Papisano, Steve, and Macy's sales clerk Angie Rossini, Natalie Wood. When Angie discovers she's pregnant, she tracks down Rocky and tells him flatly that she doesn't anticipate or require any assistance from him. The only thing she requires is the name of a doctor who can perform an abortion, so that her dominant Italian family, with whom she currently lives, is unaware of what has occurred. As a result, Rocky agrees to assist Angie in finding a doctor to do the treatment. Number 7, The Cincinnati Kid, 1965. The Cincinnati Kid, based on the novel by Richard Jessup, stars Steve as Eric the Kid Stoner, a hotshot poker player in 1930s New Orleans, who is just starting to establish a prestigious name for his abilities. When legendary poker player Lancey the Man Howard, Edward G. Robinson, comes to town, the Kid can't pass up the opportunity to face him. Howard gladly accepts the offer, putting the Kid's reputation on the line in a stressful marathon game of 5-card stud to prove that he is the best. The Cincinnati Kid was set in St. Louis in the original book, while being filmed on location in New Orleans. The film was set in the more colorful New Orleans, and it's impossible to deny that the city adds a distinct character to the location. The Cincinnati Kid, directed by Norman Jewison, also has a wonderful supporting ensemble, including Anne Margaret, Carl Malden, Tuesday Weld, Joan Blondell, and Rip Torn. Number 6, The Getaway, 1972. The Getaway, based on Jim Thompson's novel, is the film that introduced Steve McQueen to his future wife, Ollie McGraw. Steve plays Carter Doc McCoy, a career criminal now serving a 10-year sentence for armed robbery. In the film directed by Sam Peckinpah, Doc's wife, Carol McGraw, strikes a deal with crooked businessman Jack Bainan in order to gain Doc's early parole. Doc and Carol must pull off a bank heist alongside Bainan's goons, Rudy and Frank. As part of the arrangement, the robbery, on the other hand, goes horribly wrong, causing Doc and Carol to flee. Jim Thompson, the novel's original author, was supposed to adapt The Getaway for the film. Number 5, Bullitt, 1968. Bullitt was the first picture produced by Steve McQueen's production firm, Solar Productions, and it stars Steve in one of his most iconic roles. The film stars McQueen as Lieutenant Frank Bullitt of the San Francisco Police Department, and is based on the novel Mute Witness by Robert L. Fish, authored under the pseudonym Robert L. Pike. A U.S. Senator personally requests that Frank provide protective custody for a witness speaking before a Senate subcommittee on organized crime. The witness, Johnny Ross, is transferred to a substandard hotel where Bullitt and his his gang intend to watch him over the weekend in shifts. When things go wrong, though, Frank is desperate to figure out what went wrong and suspects there's more to this story than he realizes. Number 4. The Sand Pebbles, 1966. This terrible war picture, based on the novel by Richard McKenna, reintroduced Steve to his military background while also serving as the only time he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. The Sand Pebbles is a film set in 1920s China that stars Steve as Naval Petty Officer Jake Holman, who has recently been sent to the USS San Pablo on the Yangtze River Patrol. The crew of the San Pablo is known as the Sand Pebbles, a pun on the ship's name, the Sand Pebble. Jake is rattled by the ship's strange social system not long after he arrives on the San Pablo. Over time, the ship has taken on a number of local Chinese laborers, and today these Chinese locals, rather than the actual naval personnel, are performing the majority of the ship's work. So, despite the fact that Jake is the ship's machinist's mate, he is not expected to maintain the ship's engine on his own. Instead, he's told to let the Chinese laborers do the task, even if they aren't technically trained for it. Number 3. The Magnificent Seven, 1960. Despite the fact that Steve had acted in a number of films before to The Magnificent Seven, his performance in this classic western is widely regarded as his breakout performance. The film stars Yul Brynner as Chris Adams, a Cajun gunslinger who is approached by 3 desperate Mexican farmers whose community is often destroyed by a band of bandits led by the cruel Calvera, Eli Wallach. The farmers recognize Chris as a good man and seek his guidance on purchasing guns to defend their community. Chris proposes that they spend their money on gunslingers instead, and he offers to assist them in their search. Number 2. Papillon, 1973. The true story of French criminal Henri Papillon Cherrière is told in Papillon, which is based on the autobiographical novel of the same name, played by Steve. Papillon is a film set in the 1930s that begins shortly after Cherrière is wrongfully convicted of murder and sentenced to life in the penal colony of French Guiana. He meets and befriends fellow convict Louis Degas, Dustin Hoffman, who was convicted of embezzlement and forgery. On the way over, the two vow to keep an eye out for one another, but the horrors of the penal colony may be more than either of them anticipates. Regardless of the conditions, Papillon remains optimistic about his chances of escaping. Papillon is a harsh picture that may be tough for some to watch, but it includes one of Steve's best acting performances. Unlike other movies, Papillon was shot in order, allowing Steve to progressively develop his character's journey throughout the film. Number 1. The Great Escape, 1963. The Great Escape, which stars Steve in one of his most memorable roles, is the film that catapulted him to superstardom. The Great Breakout chronicles the true account of the 1944 mass escape attempt by World War II Allied prisoners from the high-security German POW camp Stalag Luft III. Based on the book by Paul Brickhill and filmed fully on location in Germany, Steve portrays Captain Virgil Hiltz, an American Air Force pilot dubbed the Cooler King due to his several attempts to escape and propensity of belittling jail officials. Despite the fact that Steve is only one of many brilliant actors in this ensemble production, his sequences leave such an impression that it appears he is in a far larger portion of the film than he is. This concludes today's video. What are your thoughts on the items on our list? Please let us know what you think in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates.